Okay, so this is Chazara of Kinyan Mesechta, our Kinyan Chabura Daf Gimmel. We are holding by a Braita over here. We had just stated that previously that the Gemara wanted to suggest that for on Shvi'it, you're not chayav, the Torah never asered doing toldot. Only avot melachot of working the land are asur, but toldot are not asur. So the Gemara now wants to challenge this. The word is velo. The line begins with the word lo. It's 2, 4, 6 lines down from the top. It says velo. It says the Gemara velo, and you're not chayav on toldot. You're not. It's not asur to do toldot on Shvi'it. V'hatanya, says the Gemara. The Gemara brings a braita. It says in the pasuk sadecha lo tizra v'karmecha lo tizmor. En li ela zuriya ve'zimur. What I see from this pasuk is zuriya and zimur, the av melacha of planting and the tolda of pruning. Minayin, how do I know lenichush, that you also cannot do nichush, which is removing the weeds? Idur, idur is digging a little bit underneath the trees to soften the dirt. Ul kisuach, kisuach, Rashi says, is you're not pulling out the weeds, you're just cutting the grass. You're shortening it. You're not uprooting. So how do I know that you're not allowed to do those melachot also on Shvi'it? Talmud lomar sadecha lo, karmecha lo. Again, it doesn't say lo tizra sadecha. It says sadecha lo. So that includes other melachot as well. It's saying in your field, no, you can't do any of these melachot. Lo kol melacha shebesadecha, you can't do any melacha that's in your field. Velo kol melacha shebekarmecha, and you can't do any melacha that is in your kerem, in your vineyard. The Braita goes further. Minayin she'ein mikarsemin. How do we know that you cannot be mikarsem? Rashi says this is the act of pruning, but for trees as opposed to for a grapevine. You're basically removing the branches, the dead branches of the tree to help facilitate the growth of the tree. Ve'ein mizaredin, and how do we know that you cannot be mizared? Rashi says that's cutting branches in general, not only dead branches, dry branches, and living branches, because the tree has too many branches, so you're just cutting branches in general. Ve'ein mefasegin, and how do I know that you cannot be mefaseg, which Rashi says is holding up the tree. If a tree is very heavy and fresh and fruitful, and it's leaning over to create something to hold it up, how do I know that you're not allowed to do that? Be'ilan, Talmud lomar, the pasuk says again the same drasha, sadecha lo, karmecha lo, and we learn out lo kol melacha shebesadecha, you cannot do any melacha which is in your field, velo kol melacha shebekarmecha, and you cannot do any melacha in your vineyard on Shvi'it. So that includes all these melachot. Minayin she'en mizavelin. How do we know that you cannot fertilize? Ve'en mefarekin. And how do we know also that you're not allowed to remove stones that are by the roots of the tree? Ve'en me'avekin. And you're not allowed to cover up with dust or with dirt the roots of the tree. Ve'en me'ashenin be'ilan. And you're not allowed to smoke the tree. So Rashi explains they would smoke the tree as some type of pesticide to get rid of bugs or worms that are in the trees or in the fruits of the tree. So how do I know you're not allowed to do any of these melachot as well? Talmud lomar sadecha lo, karmecha lo. It says in the pasuk, sadecha lo, karmecha lo. It's worded in that way to teach me again, kol melacha shebesadecha lo, bekol melacha shebekarmecha lo, to teach me that any melacha in my field, lo, I cannot do, and any melacha in my vineyard, I cannot do. Yacho, so this whole list of melachot seems to be, we have a drasha from a pasuk telling me that it's asur. Yacho lo yikashkesh, the Braita is continuing, this is all the Braita. Yacho lo yikashkesh tachat hazetim, velo yedor tachat hagefanim. I may think that you're not allowed to be mikashkesh. Rashi says that's like idur for trees. It's digging underneath the trees to soften up the dirt. Or I might think also that you cannot dig underneath the trees for softening up underneath the vine, the grapevines, for softening up the dirt over there. Velo yimale nekaim mayim, and you can't fill up the ditches with water, the little ditches with water. Lo ya'aseh ugiyot lagefanim. You can't make ugiyot. You can't make circles around your vineyard to hold water. How do I know that those are allowed? Meaning, I may think that you're not allowed to do those also on Shavuot. Talmud lomar sadecha lo tizra. It says sadecha lo tizra. You cannot be zoreya. You cannot plant in your vineyard. Zuriya bechlal haita. So zuriya was included in all the other melachot. It could have just said sadecha lo. You can't do anything in your field, and I would have known to include all melachot, including zuriya. Velama yatzta. Why is zuriya something that is being used as an example? Why did it exit the general rule? So lehakish eleha, in order for us to be makish to it, in order for us to use it as a hekish, lomar lecha, to tell you, ma zuriya miyuchedet avodah shebesadeh v'shebekerem, just like zuriya is something that is specific in that it's something that's done in a field and in a vineyard equally. It's not something that applies more to one than the other. So, af kol shehi avodah shebesadeh v'shebekerem. Also, every other type of avoda that's asur is similar to zriya in that it's equally applicable to a vineyard and to a field, to a sadeh and to a keren. But either way, you see from the Braita, right? We started off with saying that suggesting that the toldot are not asur on shvi'it midirabanan. They're not asur on shvi'it, midoraita. They're only asur midirabanan. And we had this Braita that listed a whole number of milachot, all of which are toldot pretty much, and it seems like they're asurim midoraita because we learn it out from a pasuk sadecha lo. So says the Gemara, midrabanan vekra asmachta ba'alma. The Gemara answers that these are really only asur midrabanan, and the pasuk is just an asmachta. So really, we're coming out that this goes back to answer the question that we had on the bottom of Daf Bet Amud Bet. We asked, why is it that on Shvi'it you're allowed to water a Beit HaShlachin? So one answer was, well, we're talking about Shvi'it Zman Hazeh D'Rabanan, therefore you're allowed to be Mekel for a Hefsed. And the second answer is, Shvi'it Bizman Hazeh D'Oraita. You're not allowed to do malacha on Shvi'it midoraita, but the toldot melachot are not asurim midoraita. And even though this whole Braita lists toldot that are asurim, they're only asurim midirabanan. And midirabanan, the Rabbanan were lenient by the toldot of, at least the tolda of watering on Shvi'it for a Beit HaShlachin. Okay, so Chazara of our Kinyan Chabura Moed Katan Daf Gimmel. We are holding by where it says V'kishkush b'shvit mishari. It's pretty much smack in the middle of the Amud. Says the Gemara, V'kishkush b'shvit mishari. So beforehand we brought a Braita, and we said that kishkush, one of the melachot, is mutter on shvit. Kishkush was digging underneath the tree to soften the dirt. So that's mutter during shvi'it. So it says the Gemara, is that really true? It says in the pasuk, "V'hashevi'it tishmetenna unetashta." The pasuk says that on the 7th year, tishmetenna, you have to let go of the land, untashta, and like remove yourself from it. So those two words are coming to tell me that I cannot do two specific melachot. Tishmetenna milakashkish. I have to remove myself from it and not do kishkush, not dig underneath the tree to soften up the dirt. Unetashta milesakel. And Nitashta is teaching me that I cannot be misakel, I can't remove stones from the field, from where the trees are. So what do you see from this pasuk, from this drasha, that you're not allowed to do kishkush on Shvi'it? But beforehand in the Braita we said that's one of the melachot that you are allowed to do on Shvi'it. So Amar Rav Ukva Bar Chama, says Rav Ukva Bar Chama, Trei kishkush havu. There's two different types of kishkush. Chad avruye ilane, chad situme pili. One is avruye ilane, one is situme pili. So Rashi gives a couple pshatim. Rashi in the Katav Yad, I don't have it in this Gemara, but I think it's in the back in this Gemara. But Rashi in the Katav Yad says avruye ilane is one of the pshatim he gives is you're bettering the tree, you're making the tree more healthy, more bari. The tree is really good, it's fine, but you're just making it better to gain. That would be asur. And situme pile is covering up the cracks in the tree, and that would be mutar because otherwise the tree is going to die. You're doing it to prevent a loss. Avrui lani asur situme pile shari. Making the tree healthier, better would be asur, and situme pile, covering up the cracks, would be mutar because that is preventing a loss. Says the Gemara further, new discussion. Itmar. Ha-charish b'shvi'it Rabbi Yochanan or Lazar. Someone who does charisha on shvi'it, that's a machlok between Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Elazar. Whether you get malkut. Chad amar loka, chad amar eino loka. One says you get malkut, one says you do not get malkut for doing charisha, for plowing on shvi'it. So says the Gemara, leima b'Rabbi Avin amar Rabbi Yila kamiflagi. Let's suggest that perhaps this machloket, whether or not you get malkut for doing malacha on shvi'it, their machloket is regarding this halacha of Rabbi Avin amar Rabbi Ila'ah. So for this, we need a bit of a background. So there's a rule called klal uprat uklal, i'atadan ella ke'ein haprat. When you have psukim that teach me a klal, a general rule, and then there are pratim, there's specific examples, and then there's a klal, a general rule. So, i'atadan ella ke'ein haprat. Anything that's ke'ein haprat, that is similar to the characteristics of the pratim of those specific examples given, anything that is similar, even though it's not listed there, is included in the Isser. So Rabbi Avin says that rule doesn't apply in a certain case. Dam Rabbi Avin Amar Rabbi La, says Rabbi Avin in the name of Rabbi La, Kol Makom Shneimar Klal Ba'aseh Uprat Belo Ta'aseh Ein Danin Oto B'Klal Uprat Uklal. Anytime you have a klal that's written in an aseh and the prat is written in a lo ta'aseh, there's no rule of klal uprat uklal here. Rather, it would be treated like just a klal uprat, and the rule is ein bechlal ela ma shebeprat. The klal only includes the specific pratim, which means you can't include anything else that is not listed there. So our pasuk really should be a klal uprat uklal because it says on the seventh year is Shabbat for the land, and we see from there that you cannot do any malacha. Then it lists specific malachot that you're not allowed to do, sadecha lo tizra, karmecha lo tizmor, etc. And then again, it says it's going to be Shabbat for the land. So it's a klal, and then pratim, and then klal. The rule should be that everything should be included, unless you hold like this Rabbi Avin, because the klal is written as an aseh. And Rabbi Avin says the general rule of klal uprat uklal does not apply in such a situation. So says the Gemara, Man Damar Loke, the one that says you get malkut, late the Rabbi Avin Amar Rabbi La. He doesn't hold to this chidush of Rabbi Avin, who said in the name of Rabbi La, and really it's a good klal upratu klal, and therefore charisha is included in the isur. Uman Damar Eino Loke, Ed le the Rabbi Avin, and the one that says you do not get malkut for charisha, he holds a Rabbi Avin, and it's really not a good klal upratu klal, and therefore you only get malkut for things listed in the pasuk, not for anything else, because you cannot learn that other things are included using klal upratu klal, because according to Rabbi Avin, that rule does not apply here. So the Gemara says, lo, not true. Dekule almad leidle de Rabbi Avin. Really, we could say that everybody doesn't hold of Rabbi Avin, meaning not necessarily are they arguing about the halacha of Rabbi Avin. Everybody could not hold like Rabbi Avin Amar Rabbi La. Everybody could not hold like him. So now Mandamar Loke Shapir, the one that says you get Malkut Shapir. That's very good. Makes sense why you would get Malkut, because you have a klal upratu klal. Mandamar Eino Loke. What about the Mandamar that says you do not get Malkut? What's his reasoning? Why would you not get Malkut? So Amar Lecha, he'll tell you like this. You know why you don't get Malkut for Charisha? Michti. Let's take a look. Zemira bechlal Zuriya uvitzira bechlal Ketzira. So again, this sounds familiar. We had it on top of the Amud. The pasuk lists 4 different melachot, 2 of which are toldot that are included in the other 2. So Zemira bechlal Zuriya, Zemira pruning was included in the malach of Zuriya, the av malach of Zuriya. Ubitzira bechlal Ketzira, and Bitzira was included in the av malach of Ketzira, of harvesting. So Lamai Hilchot HaKatvinu Rachmana. Why did the Torah write it over here? Lemeimar, to tell me Dahani toldot hu de mechayev, I told the acharina lo mechayev. It's coming to teach me that these specific toldot you're chayev for. Other toldot, you're not chayav for other toldot, and that would indicate that you're not chayav for charisha either on shvi'it, according to the mandamar that says you don't get malkut, it would not be included in it would not be included in these toldot that you would be chayav for. Now, stam side point, I remember during shir, we brought up that Harisha is not a tolda. It's an av malacha. So I think we said the Maharsha says that regarding, even though generally Harisha is an av malacha, but regarding Shavit is viewed as a tolda. We also gave other terutzim during shir, but let's go weiter. So the Gemara says, Velo, is it really not going to be included? You're not chayav on other toldot. V'atanya, we learned in a Braita as follows. So we're going to go through this Braita quickly because we recorded it earlier. It's the same Braita that we had above. It says, Sadecha lo tizra v'karmecha lo tizmor. Ainli ela vezimur. I only know from this that you're not allowed to do zuriya and zimur minayin leidur kishkush kisuach. How do I know that you're not allowed to do also either kishkush and kisuach? So Rekiva Eger changes the wording over here. Nichush. Okay. Talmud Lomar sadecha lo karmecha lo. It says you can't do anything in your field and anything in your kerem. Lo kol melacha shebesadecha v'lo kol melacha shebekarmecha. Uminayin she'ein mikarsimim ve'ein mezardin ve'ein mefasegin ve'ilan. How do we know you're not allowed to do those melachot as well? Talmud Lomar sadecha lo karmecha lo. Lo kol melacha shebesadecha lo kol melacha shebekarmecha lo. Minayin she'ein mezavelin ve'ein mefarkin ve'ein me'ashinin ve'ilan. How do we know you're allowed to do those melachot? Talmud Lomar sadecha lo karmecha lo. Kol melacha shebesadecha lo, v'kol melacha shebekarmecha lo. So you're not allowed to do any of those listed melachot. Yachol lo yikashkish tachar azeitim lo yadol tachar gfanim v'lo yimal nekayim mayim. I might think that you're not allowed to do those either. V'lo yasu giyol gfanim. Talmud Lomar says the pasuk sadecha lo tizra. It says sadecha lo tizra. Zriya bechlal haitav lama yatzta. Zriya was included in the list of melachot because the pasuk said can't do malacha. It said Shabbat laHashem, so Zriya would have been included. Why is it being specified? Just like Zriya is something that applies equally to the Sada and Kerem. Of course, either way, what do you see from this Braita? What's the purpose of the Gemara bringing this Braita? The Gemara is bringing this Braita to ask on what we said above. We wanted to say that according to the Mandamar that says you don't get malkut for Harisha. Why would you not get malkut? Well, because it's not included in the pasuk. Because we only have two toldot in the pasuk to teach us that only those two you get malkut on. To which the Gemara asks, "What are you talking about? I have all these toldot that are asurim, and we're learning from a drasha." So the Gemara answers like we answered above, midirabanan. Really, they're asurim midirabanan. The kras machta ba'alma. The pasukim are just an asmachta. Okay, we'll save the next for next time.